Caleb, half of this AMA is talking about our integrations and how the Copilot is now in some of these other tools that developers know and love. So maybe you could take us into VS Code and show us around a little bit.
Absolutely. I'll go ahead and start presenting.
And also, Cole, as well, I can answer some questions here. So Scott came in, he was talking about the Falcon models. Yes, Scott, we are absolutely taking a look at some of those. I know that Brian and the machine learning team has looked at, the really big ones like the Falcon 160 or 180 billion parameters. That one's getting a lot of attention. There's also some multilingual models that are coming out. I know we'll touch on that in the back half. And Kevin, to follow up on your question, where do we store these large language models? I think that, loading them from a drive or, selecting, a side loaded model, that could be very possible. So.
Great. Yeah. Is everything all good with my screen? I believe so.
Yeah, we're looking good.
Cool. So as Cole mentioned, I'm going to be demoing some of the Copilot features within VS Code. So for context, basically, I have VS Code open. As you can see, this is like somewhat of a large workspace, but in reality, really what it is it's a mono repo of multiple example extensions for JupyterLab, which is one of our integrations. And basically, the JupyterLab team, they maintain this repository as basically a very large, pretty thorough and useful set of examples on how you can do certain things when it comes to creating extensions in JupyterLab. And one thing in particular that I would really like to show off has to do with this little toolbar button here. The Pieces JupyterLab extension has a toolbar button itself. And I do remember back when I was implementing this, I had a really hard time in the research process on, how I can exactly do this. And, certain tools like ChatGPT weren't exactly working for me. And later on, after I implemented it, I actually realized that this would be a really great use case of RAG. And so, I would kind of like to demo that. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on this toolbar button folder that I have here, and I'm going to immediately click Ask Pieces Copilot. And I'm going to ask a question about the code that is contained within this directory. So I would like to ask, how can I add a cell toolbar button to my JupyterLab extension? Great, and as you can see, it already set my context here. You can expand it and view the files if you would like to. And it's kind of just going step by step. Looks like it wasn't quite able to get the answer I was looking for, but maybe if I tried it again, it'd be okay. I'll go ahead and continue though. It did give me a list of relevant files. If I click on this schema plugin file, this is actually the answer that I was looking for. So it was able to find a relevant snippet, which led me directly to what I need, which is this little plugin JSON file where you're able to just write a little bit of JSON to add a cell toolbar button. As you can see, there's some buttons in here in these code blocks. You can copy the code and paste it somewhere. You can save it to your Pieces library, and you can even generate a shareable link just in case you wanted to share that with one of your colleagues.
And Caleb, I'll just add, now that you found that bit of config code there that you were looking for, that's something that, either we proactively save for you, or you could select and right click to save that to Pieces. That would inform the next kind of cycle when you're in this project.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Savo. So some more features that Savo just recently was going over inside of PFD. You can choose your Copilot runtime in VS Code. I'm just going to glance over that because we've already shown it. And another cool thing that kind of relates to one of the things that you showed off is your context selector. Oh, I actually have to clear the chat first. If you go into your context selector, you're going to see your entire directory structure within your workspace. everything's nicely sorted and set up just like your file tree would be. And yeah, you can just go through and click any one of these checkboxes and basically set your context for that Copilot.
Yeah, and one thing maybe Brian you should touch on is the work we do to extract the right context. Given a very large grouping of files or something, the difficult component there is what's important, right? And how do you take that out, extract it, pack it into the context window for that model? So Brian, I don't know if you want to expand on that, but that's actually a pretty big challenge that we have overcome.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think we can give away all the specifics on how we exactly do this, but essentially we look at everything. If let's say you give a directory to us, we look at all the code in there, and then we have called a snippetizer algorithm, and we're essentially ranking what are the best or most snippet-like snippets given there. So we do a bit of machine learning and a bit of just heuristics processing on this. So we're doing bracket matching and all sorts of kind of tree parsing with that. So it's a bit of ML and a bit of tree parsing, and we come out with what we believe or the machine believes is the best snippets that are going to be the most useful for you.
Yep. And I'll add, as I mentioned, we have a lot of kind of really small models that run on device, and they create embeddings that we rely on for a lot of the other activities, how we rank your search results, how we associate similarities between people, events, snippets, workflow context, etc. The benefit of those models kind of running is that we can actually use those models to chain the outputs of them, and we can do this very, very quick, right? So 20 milliseconds, 50 milliseconds, whatever it is. And we could do that at scale before we even feed it into the large language model. So small models running very fast, and then large language models interpreting some of that stuff.
Absolutely. Thank you, Savo. And yeah, I also wanted to dive into one last use case, the VS Code Copilot. And I kind of was just going to ask it a question that isn't super relevant to the current workspace that I have open. And in that case, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I don't have any context, because the context in this case wouldn't actually be that helpful, because I'm going to ask it to do something that's outside of the realm of an example JupyterLab extension. And yeah, this is actually something I was just doing the other day, where I was doing some WebSocket programming, and I wanted to find a way to basically await a WebSocket connection in JavaScript. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that same exact question. How do I await WebSocket connection in JavaScript? And yeah, it's gonna go down. It's gonna say using the promise API, using async await, and as you can see, it did a really great job here of generating some JavaScript code, which is the exact kind of code that I'm going to end up needing, and it creates this nice little helper function using that promise API that I'm sure every JavaScript developer absolutely loves. It looks like I got a little bit of a hang there. I don't know if that was due to something on the OpenAI servers part of thing, because I don't know. I'm actually not too sure.
You could try it again locally if you wanted to.
Yeah, sure. We'll do it.
That'll be the real test for Mark on his side. Yeah.
So I'm going to select the 7 billion parameter GPU model by Llama 2. And I'm going to say, how do I await a WebSocket connection in JavaScript?
There's no network hangs when you're doing that.
That's right.
There will be a bit of a cold start here as well. We are loading 4 gigs of model file into memory, so bear with us. But as soon as that's loaded up, it will stay active for a good bit of time.
Here, if I had to guess, what's going on here is the WebSocket is actually going to be waiting for the first request to finish. And in the case that we get a server hang from OpenAI, which is what I'm pretty sure what just happened, you're actually not going to be able to input another
Yeah, that's why I said it would be the real test. But hey, that's why we're learning about WebSockets, working with the Copilot, making them better, right? So
Yeah.
that's probably a follow-up question.
Yeah, we'll be working on this, I'm sure. Yeah, that's the end of my VS Code demo. Sadly, there was a couple bugs, but I'm sure that like the general premise of the Ask Copilot About features, RAG, context selection, and really just having this extremely useful tool right inside of your IDE. I think the general concept of that did land. So, yeah.
A big fan of the relevant files there. Basically, hey, if it doesn't exactly answer your question, it's still going to point you in the right direction of sample code, documentation, whatever else you have locally. And that's just again, like, it's not only about the answer that you get back, but it's also like, hey, look here, look at these docs, talk to these people, right? There's so much more that when the Copilot can't get you where you need to be, it'll at least point you in the right direction. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, big +1 to that. I actually found myself in a very similar case a couple days ago where I was looking at our desktop application, and I really wanted to know how we were doing our saving. And unfortunately, the Command-Shift-F wasn't there for me where I was looking for a specific piece of code in there. So what I did instead is I just right-clicked, Ask Copilot About, and then it gave me exactly what I was looking for. That way I didn't have to waste my time trying to sift through all the code, have to understand the entire flow, and it just explained everything to me, making my job a whole lot easier.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. And I'll say, it's funny because our job as engineers and developers is like to have to remember something and look up the rest. I always say that, they taught us that in school. And so Pieces is that kind of brain, if you will, thinking to save things yourself. I think, I also say that developers don't realize they should have saved something until they realized they didn't save it, which at that point you're like, oh man, now I got to go find it. That takes a lot of time, takes you out of context, stuff like that. So I think between us doing the proactive saving and the workflow shadowing, as well as having a Copilot that can kind of navigate all the things in Pieces, elevate those things to your workflow right at that moment in time, is going to be a world-class experience. So yeah, if you take this thing, pull it down, turn it on, let it run for a couple days, save some things to it, you're going to get answers from our Copilot, whether it's powered by ChatGPT, Llama 2, whatever, that you're not going to get anywhere else because of that context. So yeah,